Hi, my name is Alexandra, and I'm a bibliophile. Welcome to A Lovely Jaunt, where we talk about literature. Today, we're going to be talking about The Handmaid's Tale. In episode 2, as I mentioned in episode 1, we're going to be talking about dystopias and theocracies today. So if you haven't hit episode 1 yet, go back and listen to that because we talk about who Margaret Atwood is. We give a little bit of contextual information about her as a writer and as a figure, public figure. And then I also give a pretty nice summary of the work as well. And as in the last episode, I want to give another forewarning to any young viewers or young readers. This novel does deal with issues of sexuality, and I will be touching on that in my episodes. Okay, so let's get started with dystopias and theocracies. To begin with our discussion of dystopias, I'm actually going to start with utopian novels. So, we have to understand its precursor. The term utopia was first coined by Sir Thomas More in his work by that name, and you may recognize his name if you ever saw or read the play A Man for All Seasons. As a historical figure, he's very significant because he sort of stood against King Henry VIII as he sought to get a divorce from Catherine of Aragon and set himself up as the head of the Church of England. In Utopia, Sir Thomas More basically has a dialogue set between two characters who try to argue in order to discover what a perfect society would look like. In the process, the reader comes to understand that the perfect place is really not possible, and here the play on words in the title becomes important. So utopia comes from the Greek topos, meaning place, and the prefix u, which is basically a negator, and so the word utopia means no place. We often come to think of it as a perfect place because that's what the dialogue is about. And ironically, the word for a good place or a perfect place in Greek sounds the same. It would be pronounced utopia, but it would be spelled eu-topia. Eu, topos. Eu is the prefix for good. So here, basically, he's making a play on words that the perfect place doesn't exist. So, a dystopian novel, by contrast, is not merely an exploration of a bad place or a government or society that's bad, but it's the exploration of how our current society got to this dystopian society, how it could devolve. And it's an exploration of the weaknesses of our current society. Now, let's talk about a theocracy. So, simply put, a theocracy is when the state religion is intertwined with the government authority, and when there is a state religion. So the religious rules become legally binding. Those of political power are often the religious leaders as well. It's unclear if the religious leaders are also the political leaders of Gilead, but certainly in the society we have a very strong theonomy in which the laws of the land are highly inspired by religious and moral teaching. Theocratic governments have proved to be problematic pretty much throughout history, and the concept is familiar to us Americans who are drilled about the importance of religious freedom, and especially within the context of studying our American Revolution. However, sometimes the nuance of this problem is sort of missed when we have our grade school history classes, so I'm going to delve into that a little bit more right now. When a religious authority is conflated with a political authority, then political and religious alignments become problematic. So let's throw it back to Sir Thomas More. We have a man who is a faithful Catholic who had no desire to convert to Protestantism, but he also had no intention of abandoning his country, and that created a lot of confusion because to align yourself with Catholicism was, at that time, to align yourself with a Catholic government. When he stood so strongly against King Henry, many people thought that he wanted to defect to Catholic France. He had no intention of doing that. And he wanted to be an Englishman and a Catholic, but with King Henry's push to become the head of the Anglican Church or the Church of England, that became a non-position. There was no such thing. And basically it forced More to either follow his conscience as a Catholic or and therefore become an enemy of the state. For those who are willing to take advantage of whatever religious system was going to give them political advantage, it meant the flip-flopping not only of regional leaders in England, but de facto those who lived under them. So if you were a lord of a particular region and you were sort of switching allegiances throughout history between the different sects of Protestantism or even Catholicism, then de facto whoever you ruled were of that religion too, regardless of what their conscience stated. And this is the problem in The Handmaid's Tale. It is the enforcement of moral and religious rules backed by government and by pain of death. The irony of reverting to a puritanical style theocracy is exemplified by the character of Serena Joy, who, before the political switchover, advocated for the Sons of Jacob. That was the movement who was behind this push. And even if she wanted to, after their rise of power, she couldn't continue to advocate for them. She no longer had that right or ability. So she used a power to advocate for her own loss of it. And that is the complete irony of this particular character. Now, Serena Joy has neither peace nor joy, nor the offspring apparently believed was the sole and ultimate purpose of femininity. So her own religious fervor has led her to be the second lead in her own marriage and unable to fulfill her own ideals. Now I want to talk about the concept of paranoia for a little bit. When so many of the key players of oppression are those of your own sect, then paranoia is a prevalent feeling. Throughout the novel, Offred is not certain who she can trust. Certainly she can't trust the commander or Serena. She can't make friends with the staff because her position is reviled at the same time that it's exalted. So she has this weird situation where everyone wants to, kind of put their trust and faith in her to become pregnant and further the generation. That's widely important and almost honored and held up high in high esteem. But at the same time, her role as having sex with someone that she's not married to is reviled because of its association with immorality. So she can't make staff with her friends, and she has this huge pressure to fulfill all of their hopes and dreams. She's not sure if she can trust the other handmaids. Who among them is complicit with the power structure? Who among them wants to see the power structure overthrown? It's impossible to tell. She's not sure if she can trust Nick. Is he a double agent? Is he a spy for the eyes of God? Is he a spy for the Mayday revelation? We don't know. And paranoia doesn't merely stem from not knowing who to trust, it stems from ambiguous alignments. So paranoia happens when people want to align themselves with power rather than with justice. Alright, so those are the 3 topics that I want to cover for today for episode 2. So comment down below if you had any further thoughts on any of those ideas from the utopians to dystopian novels with their purpose and structure. Any further ideas that you might have on theocracies, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And then finally, how do you think the role of paranoia falls in this novel? I'd love to hear your thoughts, comment down below, and stay tuned for episode 3. In that one, we're going to get into power, sexuality, and also the concept of boredom. So until next time, I'm Alexandra, and I'm still a bibliophile.